Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the Technics SL-PD5 5-disc CD carousel changer from 1998-1999. There are three models in this series, the PD5, PD6, and PD8. The PD6 and PD8 both feature peak level search and tape editing features for recording CDs to tapes, and the PD8 also includes an infrared remote control. The PD5, however, does not include any of those features. This player also includes the disc exchange feature, so you can change 4 discs while one disc continues to play. And it's interesting that the front panel does not have any labeling or specific button for that disc exchange feature, as most other players do. I was able to find the user manual and service manual online so I could do this repair. I got this player from my local thrift store and it has trouble playing the first track of a CD. So most likely the spindle motor needs to be oiled so the disc can spin at the correct speed. So I'll do a full cleaning and servicing of this player. I do need to give a shout out to Graham from Spare Time Repair. Be sure to check out his channel here on YouTube. He does an awesome job repairing CD players, and he also repaired my Pioneer PDM6 CD changer, as it had the same issue as this Technics. So let's go ahead and get started with this repair. So here's the operation of the disc drawer and the carousel. So it does rotate well. So the belts look like they're still in perfect condition because there's no problems with the tray table or the drawer closing. So I think it's just a matter of doing some service on the laser assembly and the spindle motor. Here's track 1 trying to play on a disc, and you can see it's just skipping like crazy. So you can see the player plays later tracks just fine without skipping, so that indicates that the spindle motor needs to be oiled because it can't spin the disc fast enough at the beginning of the disc. When I tried to play the disc again in this example, it actually failed to read the table of contents and moved on to the next tray, which was empty. The front panel on this player has a nice clean look. Since it does not have a remote control, all the transport buttons are featured on the front panel. It has a nice comprehensive display with animation for random and disc skip, and direct access track buttons, which are nice. The rear panel features an optical digital output, so you can connect this to an external DAC, or you can plug it into an AV receiver with digital input and use the receiver's DAC. Okay, so we got the player opened, and I was not expecting to see what was inside because, as you can see, there are a lot of bug residue and bug excrement. So I don't know where this player came from, but it looks like the bugs had a party listening to the music. So let's get this cleaned up. So that little notch, square notch in the tray is actually where you release it from the front guide claws at the front of the player to release the drawer tray, and then you release the 2 rear clips on the laser assembly to actually release the drawer. But this is a little tour of the carousel and the inside of the player, showing a lot of the bug excrement that just got everywhere. So we'll do a cleaning on that. Okay, I need to apologize for the crazy camera angles. Later in the video I do get an overhead mount for better shots, but to remove the front panel you just need to pull those 2 ribbon cables off the board and then remove the 3 screws on the bottom and then unhook the front panel from those little side notches, and the front panel will slide right off because there's no bezel on the front tray table. Okay, I've got the front panel off, so now the CD drawer is completely accessible to be removed from the player, and we can continue the disassembly. I've got the front panel right here. Not too bad as far as condition. Should be able to clean this up pretty well. So we need to remove all these screws to remove that PCB and that one as well, and then we can be able to do a clean on this front cover. Okay, I got the PCB removed and the buttons removed, and the bugs even got into the front panel by the display. So this needed a thorough cleaning as well. So here's the front PCB board that I cleaned. It's interesting that it actually has part of the remote sensor but no hardware underneath because the PD5 has no remote control. So it's interesting that part of it's there but not the actual sensor itself. So I cleaned the board and also gave the front display a good clean with the glass. All the buttons are in great condition. They all have normal clicks, and I also cleaned off the rest of the bug residue. Alright, I've got the front panel board all back together and cleaned. Got that PCB back in there. Everything looks good. All the buttons look good. And the front panel's cleaned up pretty well. Looks a little bit better than it did. A couple scuff marks came out on the top, so that's looking good. Here's the service manual, and this explains how to remove the disc table. There are 4 claws as described. 2 are in the front and 2 that clip under the laser assembly, so it took a while to figure out how to release the claws from the disc table. Then it was easy to remove. I ended up doing it off camera once I figured out how to release the claws. Okay, so I'm going to try and remove the drawer tray. And then we need to remove a ribbon. Let's see. Well, I finally got the CD tray out, so you can see how dirty this player is, and I'll be able to remove the mechanism and clean that and be able to get the spindle motor oiled and clean this entire player as well as the disc tray. Yeah, this player is pretty gross to look at. So I'm not sure who owned this player or where they were, but it's got a lot of debris from bugs. So definitely get this cleaned up. So I did a quick once over clean with a wet wipe just to try and get most of the bug debris off the panels and off the laser assembly, just so I could better handle it. Of course I went ahead and removed the laser assembly, which was simple, removing 4 screws in the corners. The black cable I couldn't detach from the board, so instead I just pulled it from the laser assembly, and that came off really easy. The board itself is removed by about 6 screws from the power supply and holding the board in, and then 3 screws on the back. And now I was able to remove the board and the laser assembly, and there's a whole bunch of bug debris underneath. So I took the whole chassis out in the yard and hosed it down, trying to get almost all the bug debris off the entire chassis. And then, of course, in the preceding videos, took apart everything on the laser assembly, hand cleaned each piece one by one, and then re-greased them as appropriate, and then reassembled the player. But you can see there how much bug debris is in the player itself under the laser assembly. So it was just everywhere in the player. So it needed to be a complete disassemble and full clean. So there is the slide rail, and it looks to be plastic, which I've never seen before. It looks pretty dirty, so we're going to clean that up. I've already cleaned the lens. So I did a lot of cleaning off camera. I was able to completely clean the laser sled mechanism, get that all cleaned of all the bug stuff, and the laser assembly looks like I'm gonna have to take it apart. We have the one plastic rail there, and then the other rail is down in there. So it looks like I am gonna have to take off the board on the bottom to get to that rail so I can oil it. I picked up some silicone grease because that's needed for lubricating plastic on plastic parts. The white lithium grease should only be used with metal. So let's see what we can do taking off this board. 3 tiny screws. And everything's attached. So that's probably not going to work. Might just have to oil it from within. I don't think I can lift. Nope. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Get those screws back in. Let's see, there's a screw here. Nope, that's not it. Where was that other screw hole? Oh, right over here. All right. So we work on getting that oiled. Okay, so I was able to remove the disc spindle, get that lubricated with oil underneath, and you can see down in there kind of, I was able to oil the rail. I'll lubricate this one, and I was able to lubricate the motor underneath, so we'll lubricate the other motors as well. Got this one here. A little bit right under there, and that should be it for oiling for now. The drive tray has a motor to probably oil. Oh, I need to oil. oil this one. This one's not really a motor, it's just a spindle. But that's done. Okay, I did lubricate the carousel motor with oil, and I also lubricated the spindle with silicone grease before I put the tray back together. Here's the service manual for reinstalling the tray. You can see the guides in the middle of the tray that meet up with the front base guides, and then you clip the rear claws under the laser assembly. When I did this, I actually had to remove the tray twice because I screwed in the front right guide into the wrong screw hole, so I wasn't able to reattach the front panel. So I had to fix that and put the tray in twice. And the front panel goes in by reattaching the ribbon cables and the 3 screws to secure the front panel. This completes the reassembly of the player, and we are now ready to test it and see if it works. Alright, let's see if it works. Okay, this is the same U2 CD that I played in the beginning that skipped and would not play the first track at all. So you can see that the same CD with the same track 1 now plays perfectly without skipping and without missing a beat. So oiling the spindle motor did fix this player, as well as a complete clean and restoration. Well, I'm glad I was able to get this CD player working again with general maintenance to save it from ending up in a landfill. I hope to resell the player to someone that still appreciates CDs. I hope the video turned out well. I know some of the camera angles were a little rough, but now that I have an overhead mount and a ring light, hopefully my next video will be much better. If you enjoyed the content, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you have any comments or suggestions, that would be cool too. I don't know how often I'll be uploading videos, but I have more CD players to repair, and I hope I can get them all working again. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see new content, and thanks for watching.